cancer does not show up out of nowhere. It's a conclusion of many, many, many years of suppressed emotion and pain and anger, and mostly anger, but but a lot of other things like fear and pain and pain like heartache and heart pain and pain of unfairness and hopelessness and fighting with life and fighting with family member and always feeling that you're coming out under, or you are always pushed down and then you can't breathe, and then it's a constant something constantly been going on, and you didn't know what to do with it. And so, hello and welcome back to our second episode. Today, we're talking about heal and how to heal your body. And this is a series of free workshops. And in these free workshops, I'm intending to share everything I know about the body, about symptoms, illnesses, diseases. What does that mean? Why they here? What is their message? And what we can do about them to restore our well-being. And I'm just going to give a very short recap about what we did on in the first episode and what we did in the first day. And of course, that video is up on the YouTube channel as well, so you can go and watch that if you did not watch it. But this episode doesn't have, or it's not really related. We are continuing, but I'm going to fill you in with everything from episode one. And there's going to be another episode where we go a little bit even more into the depth of these illnesses and symptoms and diseases. So in the first episode, by the way, hi, my name is Agnes, and if you don't know me, I am a healer, a spiritual guide, and a therapist, and psychic, and coach, and different type of things that I've been doing along these years because I was so thirsty for knowledge, and I was keep improving myself. And I did a lot of transformation on myself on the body level as well, and on many other levels like joy because a lot of us come from trauma, and I've seen that so many of light workers and people I know, people who find me and they will resonate on the same frequency. Most of the time they all come from trauma, and some type of trauma from childhood, or some type of quite deep programming and conditioning. So I don't know why I said that, but anyway, it must have come out for a reason. But what I said that, oh yeah, so I've been working so much on myself in the last 2 decades because I just wanted to understand more about how I work and more about how I create my reality, why I have the things in my life that I have, why I'm choosing those exact people in my life, why I have those exact experiences and situations and pain and wounds and reoccurring stuff that it's keep popping up in my experience, and I just wanted to understand all of that. So my whole journey started with me trying to go through and fix fix my things so then I can create a life that I truly truly love. And this took me, well, a good 10 years until I started to help others as well with everything I was learning and trying out. And then, well, 4 years ago I decided to do this full time and only this and nothing else. And then of course COVID kicked in and it kind of like went down, and then I said, okay, so I'm going to do this online, and I'm going to share my message and my knowledge and my experience of all the transformations, the healing that I did in my life. And there was a lot of stuff because the more I was more I was working on myself, the more I realized how many things I am conditioned into, and how many obsessions, let's say, or I would say even patterns I had around money and around relationships, around showing up and who I was showing up as. And the more I understand and change them, the more obviously my life changed. And now I'm here to use this and share this message for others to benefit of everything that I've realized. And in this series, we talk about body. Now, in the first episode, we talked about the actually I went really broad, and I started to talk about to share the information about understanding how much connection we have with this more expanded version of ourselves, which I always call higher self, but it's not higher in any meaning, rather than more expanded version of reality. And how we are always and was always connected to this part of us who is constantly guiding us on a daily basis towards our desires, towards the things, the experiences that we already put there before we came here in order to experience them, so we can grow and evolve into who we want or we came here to be. And and we always are guided, but at a very early age we disconnect from this, we lose the trust. And I talked in the first episode about the importance of reconnecting and understanding this guidance that we are getting, and how this guidance is coming through us and through the people around us and through the signs and the messages and many different ways. And I put them in four different stages or layers or levels. The first one was the very subtle ones that come as an intuition, as a gut feeling, as a knowing, an inner knowing, and like even a calling. So all these are happening. The first level is happening inside of us. So are the ideas we getting, are that, now I know, are that the urge of taking action, some type of nudge from the universe, it's or is just an intuition of I should do that or I shouldn't do that. So majority of the time, many of us kind of mm, either neglect or completely suppress this kind of communication, and then we just go on with our life blind and deaf, and we really pretend that we don't know anything about these kind of things. And then I talked about a second level of this type of communication, which is usually happens as signs and things that are exterior to us. It can come through people, through connection, through communication, through different things that you see around you, like conversation with people, books, posts, at basically anything, advertising or anything, something you overhear, something you read somewhere, and it's your confirmation, it's the message, it's the sign you need to hear. And just a quick note here, a friend of mine was really wanting to leave the job, but she was so afraid that she's not going to find a new one. And actually that she was getting a lot of confirmation and messages, but she was like ignoring them and not really like doubting like so many of us does. And then I remember she said like one day she got this, she just coming out from the job, she saw this huge banner which says just leave. And I was like, she was telling me this, that it was so obvious. It was just really saying, just leave. And she was like, I was just keep thinking about them and just coming out from the place. And I was like, oh, I just hate this. I don't want to come back here anymore. And then she just read, just leave. And well, she eventually left and found a much better one, which actually, so she is part of my community, and I know what kind of job she found now. So this is so cool. And so that was the second level. The third layer or level or stage of this is the body. So if we are not understanding, we are not doing anything about what we should do and we know we should do, and all these messages are there to help us, as I said, to really fulfill our purpose, fulfill our dreams, and there's all happening for us on our benefit, and it's for our purpose. But as I said, we don't recognize and we doubt. So the third level is when you've just don't, and I'm going to talk more about this today, but you just didn't get it, you ignored it for too long, and now they appear as symptoms in the body, and they can be different type of things, and that's what we're going to talk about today. and and we still don't really understand why we have them, so we keep ignoring, and then our society taught us to just take a pill and just numb whatever is the symptom, and then try to just get rid of it without looking at the emotional side of, or even like the what's going on in my life, and looking holistically to our body instead of just like concrete symptoms, what we were basically what our whole world is doing, and in the medical world is doing. So that was the third and the fourth level or layer, where if we ignore even the third one, and these messages are not coming like that, like only one level and then the second and the third, usually they're coming like all of them, we're getting all of them at the same time. And sometimes the third, or the fourth one, as I said, were more bigger things that will shake our life so we can actually wake up. So it's that desperate type of higher self. It's like, come on, you have to listen. And that is, as I said, minor accidents, minor major accidents, also almost near death experiences. Some people can have even more of that, like not even one, they needed like two big shakes of hello, wake up, you are on the wrong path. And so that was what we did on the first day. And officially I'm opening the second day. So hello, welcome anyone who is listening now here live or afterwards, the replay. And in case you do that later, you can just comment below if you have any questions. I'm going to come back to you and answer all the questions you have. So with that said, today we're going to talk about, basically it's a table of, or like a structure of the illnesses that I see, that I had and other people's had, and the clients I worked with. And this comes from my experience of these many years, that I been in this spiritual world. And I've never seen anything like this before. So first, I'm just going to say this: never seen anything like this before, and it's mostly just my own. I think it's just the way how I think, that I come a little bit nerdy spiritual. So I need to understand how things come together. So this whole thing, it came to me a few, like couple of weeks ago. Then it all became like I don't know how to say, like a structure of like, oh, so actually we can understand them, and we can have more information on what's going on. And my goal with this is that if someone is suffering of any of the symptoms, or any type of illness, disease, or imbalance in their body, they can have a kind of a map, like being able to find out. And that's what I want to do by the end of the third episode, to teach you a tool that you can go, or even I think today I'm going to be able to do that, to teach you the very simple tool to test out where you have to go. It's kind of having a map and then giving you a what's that, compass, so you can actually see, like, okay, so this is where I need to go deeper and do the work that I need to do, in so I can balance back the body, because the body is continuously looking for balance, which is good news. So it's continuously trying to heal itself and continuously looking for balance. So if you get the message and you do what you are supposed to do, then the body will automatically find well-being. So you just need to support the body in the well-being by understanding what the heck is going on. So, as I said, I'm going maybe it would be easier for me if I could write on a board, but I'm not going to. So you might want to take notes. I'm going to try to explain it is to be logical. So what I've realized that there are two different types of illnesses, diseases, or symptoms. And first are the short ones that are usually something that comes up and in a few days is gone, or maybe couple of weeks and it's gone. And they are the ones that are longer, more serious. Probably you can't find a cure. You have had it on and off, or maybe just on all the time for months, or even years, or even decades. You've tried million different things, and still it's not working. And so these are the two categories that I kind of seen that they exist. And I'm going to start with the first one. So in the first category, I saw three type of things. So the first one are the ones that are usually a few days, maybe as I said, a week. And these are the ones that are cold or a flu or something like really insignificant that you just catch because you are tired, because you are stressed, because life is happening around you, but they don't have any message. You just, maybe you're just exhausted and you just catch a cold, and because you went out, with wet hair because you were in a rush, or those kind of things that are just there. We have them because we have a body. So there's nothing to know about them. You do what you need to do. Some people just believe in natural stuff like tea and sauna. Um, some people just take some aspirin or so whatever. So you do whatever. I'm not going to talk more about that. There's nothing we want to talk about. That's it's not why we are here. Right? The second are also short ones, but they are ascending or ascension symptoms. You must have heard about them. They are very crazy. And usually the good news is they are short-lived things also. So can be just a few days. And those can go from basically dizziness to all kind of flu-like symptoms or cold-like symptoms. They can go from different aches and pains, from like heart palpitation to, yeah, to different kind of, yeah, weirdnesses that have no, you have no idea why they're here. It doesn't make any logical, like, yeah, like, I don't know, it just appeared out of nowhere. So I've seen people, some people are more sensitive to this, some people are less. Also, I saw this at my on my mother, because last year, or since I'm spending more time with her, and my frequency level, it was much higher than my mother's, and we started to spend a lot of time together. I could see a lot of her ascension symptoms coming out, and they were like, random on and off things like heart palpitations. And if it goes away, so this is very important, if it's steady and doesn't go away and you have them for a week, go and check them out. You might just have, like, we have no idea what's going on. If everything looks fine, then everything looks fine. But if it's persistent, you just really want to make sure, even if you can test out, because I'm going to teach you how to muscle test. But you want to make sure, because if it's something really nasty, you really want to catch it. If it's something, not just an ascension symptom. But usually ascension, ascension symptoms usually are, they come and go, and then that's it. Then usually are related to sun flares. And so if you are in spiritual groups, they tell you when was something big happened, and then everybody more or less have them. It can be headaches, or different kind of things, or you don't sleep too well, you wake up too many times in the night, things like that. Now, the third category thing in the short ones are messages from your higher self. So this is related to something is going on, and your body is signaling that something in the present moment is going on. So it's actual, something actual. I shared one example in the first episode about my ankle, like how stubborn I was to keep to my plan of staying at that place, even though I felt I'm not welcomed, and I still said no. I said, like, because this was my plan, and I started to have symptoms in my leg, you know uh and I even mentioned that if it's something that just appears, and if it's related to legs, usually it's because it's about movement, right? So movement, you want to go, you need to go, you should take a step. So it's all related to these kind of things. And as I was saying, like, if it's something just like off, like an ankle type of problem, and it just appears out of nowhere. So I didn't sprain it. I didn't twisted it. It just came out of nowhere. Like there was no reason that it happened. And it started to I have that. And then the moment that I did, like, I moved out from the place where, and I knew I have to move out, and I really went with the knowing and the intuition. It was gone in a few hours. So I knew, like, and I even laughed out loud. I was like, this is so crazy. Now, these can be many different things. Like, for example, I'm going to give you some other examples because this will help you to recognize them. So, for example, throat and sore throat or different type of throat problems can come from situations where you want to say something to someone, but you don't. So you are in a situation where, in a job or somewhere where you really, really wanna or should step up, for stand out for yourself, or you feel like someone is crushing you with either their actions or their words, and you feel so small and hopeless, and you should really go and say no, like, like creating boundaries, and you are not. So the more you holding back, it's not a coincidence that you will start having throat issues and inflammation and stuff, because it's fire, right? So it's really logical. Many times it's logical. Now, you can have other things. For example, my mom had ear problems, again, out of nowhere. And I remember one day she was coming home and she's like, I'm just so sick and tired of listening to my boss, because all day, all night, he's all coming and talking about the same thing, about what he wants to refurbish and how he wants to refurbish it and what he wants to do. And every day I need to go up back and to the back side of the building, and he every day he gives me a guiding tour, and he talks about this and this, and it's like, I'm so sick and tired, like I don't want to listen to him. And this has been going on for like weeks. And then this is funny, she's like, I don't want to listen. So she started to have pain in her ear because she didn't want to listen. And I was like, why don't you tell him, like, you should just say, like you showed it me yesterday. I know, like, good. Just like, I don't want this. But no, because it's people pleasing, right? So she, in her case, she just couldn't say no. And then how many times people can't say no, and they just go into the games of other people, and then they are surprised that they have problems, and then they have issues in their body because their body's telling them, draw your line, create boundaries, say no, do something, right? So it's super logical, at least for me, when like, and when you realize it, when you really, spend that 5 minutes, you're like, oh, like there's something going on. Okay, so these are actually the things that I wrote down as my experience, the short type of, and when I say short, it can be a few days, can be few weeks, but normally they are something that they go away quite fast. So like not more than a couple of weeks. If it's more than a couple of weeks, you want to go and check it out. And as I'm saying, if there's nothing, then there is just your body just processing something. Okay, so the third one, you really want to see what's going on and do something about that thing, change something around. Now, this was the first, or the short thing category. Now, I'm going to talk about the long ones. And this is the one that we really, this is especially why I created the series, because I see so many spiritual seekers fighting for years with different type of things and illnesses and imbalances. And so I want to share on I'm going to say again as a disclaimer, I'm not a medical person or specialist. I'm not a doctor, and I don't heal people. I help people to see what's going on in their lives and heal themselves, because honestly, we cannot heal anyone. And just a very interesting side note here, because it just came to me say this. Um, I have several healer friends who are working with energies and working with quantum field and working with things that I'm working with, and I've got this question from them, and they don't know each other, right? So it's not something we talked about, but it came individually from them, and they ask me, Agnes, do you know why if I heal someone and there are different versions. For example, I heal them and everything is fine, the problem is gone, and then a few weeks later the problem comes back. Like, why? Like, I don't understand, because I see the body is healed and they actually heal. And this is an energy healer, right? Very important to know. She's an energy healer. So what she does, she goes into the body and basically regenerates cell by cell, and she does the energetic work inside the body. And I said to her, I don't know, let me channel this, because I have no idea. So what we channeled was that the person did not change the problem's source itself. so no matter if you go as a healer and you help the body to heal, the problem will come back if the person didn't change anything. The person didn't change the mindset. The person didn't get now I understand. Nothing happened. It didn't change anything about their lives, their lifestyle, their emotions, their thinking, their behavior, their circumstance, their situation. So why the problem was there, it didn't change. So the healer takes it out, but it will come back because the message was not delivered. And this was such a big aha moment for both of us. It was like, whoa, okay, I never thought about that. So just keep that in mind. This is what I'm saying. It's so important to do your own work, why your higher self is messaging to you, because a healer will not be able to do it for you. Nobody can do it for you, or it's going to be temporary. Um, Second healer, she does different things. She actually works with sharing and making you understand, going down into the sources. And she said, I'm seeing her completely healed in the fifth dimensional reality. Everything is gone. We heal this, we heal that, we heal this. I can see her absolutely. Every time I connect with her, I see her healed. Yet she's still so much clinging on to her story that in the 3D reality, she is, well, what's the word? She's just so attached to keep saying the same story that even though she is healed, she can't create that in this reality. So it's pushing it away. And this is very interesting as well. I'm finding it very interesting that she worked so many times with this healer, and they really went down, and it was related to her mother and the connection and the childhood and the not enoughness and the yucky, conditioning and the beliefs. And they released all that, yet she was not ready to release the story. So it's so beautiful that she is healthy basically, but she's not healthy because she needs to accept it. She needs to give herself permission. She needs to start creating the new story, allowing the new story to bring the body into balance. So for some people, really, I've seen this, it can be an instant. They're so sick and tired, they're like, I'm done. Like, thank you so much. And then nothing, like, completely is over. The problem is gone. And this was my story as well. Like, it was an instant after 2 years of suffering. And for some people, it takes really a lot of time until they are able to accept the healing and give themselves permission to have a different body. Because I'm sure it's very, very difficult. If you had an illness for 10 years, it's your identity, or 15 years or 20, or chronic stuff, it's your identity. You have no idea who you are. Like, what's the word? So you have no idea who you are, um, without that condition. So your ego, even if it's shitty, your ego is going to try to hang on to this because this is who you think you are. So you're like, I've always been like this. I always had this problem. So I'm afraid, even though you desire it so much, there is a part of you who fears the identity, that you will lose the identity of the person who has cancer and everybody's concerned about. So now you get a lot of love and attention, like, and then that's everything you ever wanted. So you have cancer and love and attention. So you are like, ooh, I don't want to lose this because then I'm losing this as well. So this is how crazy our minds, well, it's not even mind work, but even something beyond the mind. But we have these connections and programming. So this is when deep healing is necessary. So the person understands that no, love and attention is something you can have from yourself right here, right now. So you can let go of something that you believe is giving you what you always wanted. So very interesting. That was a side note, actually. Okay, but it really wanted to come through, and it was really powerful. So that's awesome. So here we're going in the long-term things, and I also found 3 different categories in this. So as I said, long term, I said I'm talking about the ones who are either stubborn, doctors can't find any solution, or you tried a million different things, and they have been going on just for a few months sometimes, or even for decades. Now, the first category of that is some type of life situation. And this life situation many times have happened before the symptoms started to come. And it can be anything that was a big thing for you, like can be someone's death. So grief was the trigger to that problem, and the person is still grieving and didn't move on. So the body will start showing you that you have not moved on and it's time to move on. It can be divorces, it can be like losing job, losing home, losing anything, money, right? It can be depression coming out from losing a business, or basically anything which we call traumatic, or something that really shook you to your core, and you think that that was processed, and your body will tell you it's not processed. So this is when I'm going to give you some examples to all of them. In this category, it's also something that is, so it's not, sometimes it's not even over. So I share now with you some things that usually happen, and then you like moves on, but you have not processed the trauma. But in many cases, it can be a thing that is still going on, like a job that or something like we call, let's say, job, that's eating you alive, a place that you go in every time but you feel your soul is dying, that it's not your place, and you just don't find the courage to move on, or you just don't know how to or what to do to move on. So eventually, if you keep consistently going and doing something that your whole body is saying no to, and you feel it, your whole body and soul and mind and heart is saying no, but you keep going and keep doing it because of fear of losing it, or losing the money, or fear of not having something better, or the doubt that you cannot find something that you truly love, or for any other reasons, that whatever reason can be, I usually fear, then your body will show you that you need to do that, that you are dying otherwise, and not literally, but can be if it's a near death experience. But don't wait until then. Now, it doesn't have to be a job, can be a family situation that you feel trapped into. And you created reasons why this is impossible. Example, people stay in marriages that they just don't want anymore because of created reasons, that is better for the children are small. But I'm always asking, really, like, is it really, are you really doing it for the children? Because this is not true, because it's not true. It's again fear of who am I going to be. I'm not able to create a life for myself. I don't have the money. I don't have the means. I don't whatever. So we create crazy stuff for ourselves to explain why I cannot divorce, because what's going to happen with the children. Now, I'm talking from even men perspective. I have a client who has been saying this to himself for 10 years, living in an abusive marriage where the woman is keep hitting him on a weekly basis, telling him that he's a piece of that he's not worthy of anything, that she completely destroyed her life by choosing him. And he is dying day by day. He created so many different illnesses and diseases. Alcoholism is one of them, only, of course, because of the pain, and because of that embarrassment and the shame and the guilt, and the crazy fights they keep having. And he always comes to me and he tells me, yes, but I'm there because the child is only 6 years old. And I'm like, don't lie. Like, you can lie to me, but don't lie to yourself. This is not true. Your child is going to learn that everything you're teaching them, that you're fighting, that love is fighting, that there is nothing there for a child, that you have to just have, like, this is the example you're giving. Like, this is not healthy. This is not love. So no, you just have to sit down and start thinking how you can change, and how you can communicate, and how you can move on, and what you actually want, and start creating them. Start empowering yourself, start visualizing what you desire, starting writing down and thinking about what kind of support you need, and what kind of steps you need, and how to change the mindset, and how to heal, and stuff like that. Don't blame on the child. So it can, something is either going on, or what's happening, and your body will show it to you. So what you need to do, you need to be honest to yourself. You need to sit down and look around in your life, and be honest to where you dying inside. It's what area of your life, or what is the obsession or the addiction, and start looking for help, because guess what, it's not going to change by itself, because you're creating it. So there's no doctor, healer, or anyone in the world who's going to save you from yourself, because you are here to create what you are desiring. So if you're staying in your own way, your higher self will try to get you out of that place, will really try so hard. So you have to collaborate a little bit. If we keep saying we desire this and that and that and this and that, well, guess what? You need to collaborate with the energies and collaborate with your heart desires and your purpose and path and all the divine helpers that we and you have around. So this was the first thing. The second is um yeah, again, very important. And this is my case. Some of us did a lot of work in the healing part yet, and you think everything is done, and you can check, and I will, as I said, teach you the tool that you can test out if it is related to this or it is related to that. Do I have to go down this path or that path? But sometimes many of us did a lot of work already. So we really did the emotional healing of that, whatever, job, divorce, breakup, or whatever was the traumatic part. Yet the symptoms are still there. And then you don't know, you've tried a million things and it's still there. Now, in that case, which is very peculiar thing. So it's kind of a side note, really, with this thing, because it's very, very few people are in this situation. The body, because the thing was ongoing for long, the body went out of balance, and now it's difficult for the body to go back to the balance by itself. So you really need to find the right support. And in my case, it's the hair loss. So I've done all sorts of healings, and yet my hair loss, like, I've done so many things, from physical products to healing, and I just felt like this is still not normal. It's still, I'm losing a lot. So what I needed to do is that, because it was going on for too long, my body, my hormones went out of balance. So I had to go and actually go to the doctor and see what's going on, and then look for alternative ways that I can rebalance my hormones. So, but there was no more emotional thing behind it that I needed to heal. Sorry. So this is some very little time that this is happening, but it can. So I'm mentioning it so you can test it out. Then the two or the third thing in this long and severe stuff can be ancestors. Now, ancestors, and we know that we can inherit stuff from, and many different stuff, not just illnesses, but other things from the ancestors. And yes, as I said, we are not coming as a clean slate, so we do inherit stuff from or through the DNA. And you might also want to check that. How you can heal, where you have different ways you can heal that. You have to find someone who is able to work and see the patterns and your connection with your ancestors, and why is that there, what's the message for you, what you need to learn and see from it. And so it's either family constellations are a good thing for this to uncover what's going on and how you are related with them, with this thing. And you can absolutely, everything can be healed, right? That's very important to know. You just have to find the best way for you. So again, you can do, any healer who is able to work with ancestors um, can do this type of uncovering or supporting you in understanding the patterns and where is it coming from. An example that I can give here is, for example, I worked with someone who had um, well, this is a combination, but I'm going to first say something is related to inability to have orgasm. And it was a combination of other things as well, but it was also related to an ancestor who had some trauma. And sometimes we inherit these things, even from, not from parents, but sometimes from light workers absolutely can happen. So it goes from ancestors that skip a few generations, and then they show up in the light worker, and it's there for a purpose, right? So for some reason you wanted it, so you just have to discover why the heck you wanted it. So how it helps you to grow and evolve. And sometimes we are not really happy that we have chosen things like that, but there is a reason, right? So you just want to find the reasons, and many times you don't even have to know the reason. If you get to a high enough consciousness level, it just disappears, or you just get to some type of knowledge that is connected to that, or some type of understanding, and it just goes away because it's not needed, it's not serving you anymore in any way. So if it's there has a purpose, it's somehow serving you. So you can either really be like, I'm done with this, and say, it's not, I don't, this is not serving me anymore, and it can go away. As I've said, instant healings. I've done many myself. I've seen many, I've done myself one as well to myself. And if you want to know, I'm not going to go deeper into my healing. If you want to know what I did and how I did it and explain the whole background story, then it's up on on my YouTube channel. So you can check that out. And the last, the last one actually, it's past lives. Now, this is another crazy stuff. I'm going to give you some examples. I didn't believe these things exist because they were just too crazy for me. But if you know anything about Dolores Cannon work, you see how many people and thousands of people's problem coming from past lives. And somehow they are triggered into that memory. Now, if we really accept the truth that they are not past, they are parallel lives, so it's actually happening right now. All of the things are happening right now. So it's quite logical that something in this life can trigger the experience of another life, and you start to have the same symptoms. For example, I had a client who had this jaw dislocation out of nowhere. Now, these are the stories where you all of a sudden have it, and then there's no reason why it came. Like there was like you did not have an accident and nothing happened. You just started to have the problem from one day to another. She had a jaw dislocation for 4 months, I think, by the time that she found me. We were working on a completely different story, but one day she said to me, by the way, Agnes, I know you can do things like this and look into the energies. Could you have a look like what's going on in my jaw? Because I really like did everything they told me to do, and do physical like therapy and those kind of things, and massage, and but it's just so scary. And it happens it happens always when I don't expect. And I'm even so afraid to yawn now, because, or to just chew, because I'm afraid it's going to dislocate. And I'm like, at that time, we're talking about like 3 years ago, when I have no idea about what I'm doing in this world of past lives and stuff. So I said, like, I don't know what I'm doing, but yeah, I can just totally check. Maybe I don't see anything. So I checked, and it was so crazy. The first moment I look into it, I saw a mummy, and a person being turned into a mummy. And I was like, whoa, whoa. I was starting to tell her what I'm seeing. I was like, maybe I'm making it up, but this is what's coming to me. And I started to tell her. And well, long story short, it's a past life of her that she was turned into a mummy in Egypt while she was still alive, but in coma. So they didn't, those time you didn't know that actually someone is, if you're not breathing, is dead. Well, she was not bad dead. He was a man at that time, not dead. And she was able to feel all the pain. I mean, imagine they're turning someone into a mummy, right? So they are dislocating, and it was the moment that I was shown that this how they were dislocating the jaw. And I was like, oh my God, Nina, I'm seeing all these things. And she was all of a sudden, she was also psychic. So she started to feel the emotions of terror. She's like, I was telling her, I feel so much terror and pain. And she's like, I know I'm feeling them too. I was like, this is crazy. And she was like, I know it's crazy. And so we healed that, we released all the trauma, we disconnected the memory, like the subconscious memory, from her cell memory. And then that was gone. I mean, I remember that she a few months later she said to me, I never had the dislocation again. So I know it's a crazy story. Even when I'm telling it, I'm like, this is so crazy. But it's has happened. Now I have another story of person who had an accident by a doctor who was they were doing some type of mirroring in her stomach, or yeah, something down there in her intestines, and it poked out. The doctor for did and it just poked her intestine. So they went in emergency operation, and then everything was done. She went, she was in the hospital, and then they have these all these tubes coming out from her so she can do all her things. So guess what? That image of her for the first time when she woke up, looked down at those tubes coming out from her belly, um, triggered a parallel life tragedy where she was attacked by a bear. And then the moment she looked up down to her bowels coming out from her stomach, and that pain and terror that there's nobody who can help. And that trauma was triggered by her looking down and seeing all those tubes coming out. I know this is crazy again, but who would thought that? Because what happened, she started to have these unexplainable terror freaking out moments, which was not explaining her situation right here because everything was going well. She was even weeks after everything was gone, she was all healed, she was like all good, the tests were all fine, and yet she was keep having these panic attacks and terror attacks. And that's how we found out that this is not explainable. It's not related to what happened here because it doesn't make sense. Now there's more stuff like that. I even in Soul Hub we had, I can see Gail here now. In Soul Hub we had Pauline who had um, a healing by a parallel life. She had a hip pain for months. She couldn't even go for jogs anymore and walk. And I even have her in on YouTube. Actually, I think it's not visible yet, but she explains actually how she healed it. And in the program I have a guided meditation that actually heals all this past life stuff. And she did that, and then she's explaining that she saw herself at the same age in another life where she was same age as an Indian woman, and she falls down the stairs, and then she hurts her hip, and then she saw it, she cleared it, she released it, and next day she was going up and running. You remember, Gail, right? You were here. Yeah. That was like, again, super crazy. So this is another level that I see symptoms and illnesses being a thing. And then, so these are basically the three types in the long and the serious and the one we don't know what to do with stories. There also, I remember now, another lady who came to me and she had this unexplainable sweating, but sweating in a way that you can't imagine. And like non-stop sweating, like huge, like, and she really tried everything and nothing was working. Like doctors couldn't help, nobody knew what the heck is going on. So I remember this ages before. This was like 5, 6 years when I didn't know what I know now, and I didn't have the experience I have now. And I couldn't. We spent 3, 4, 5 sessions in trying to figure out what the heck is going on. And I remember getting to the point where I said to her, "It's related to your boyfriend. You have to forgive, otherwise this will not go away." And they broke up a few months before, and he treated her very badly, and she was very hurt and really angry and really like a lot of hatred for him. And I remember we got to the point that I said to her, like, honestly, I really fear this is related to your boyfriend and you have to forgive, otherwise it won't go away. And do you know what she said? Never. How interesting. It's like he doesn't deserve me to forgive him. And I'm like, but your body. is talking to you. Your body, you're suffering because you are holding on the anger and the hatred. I don't care. I'm not, he doesn't deserve it. She was not ready, which is fair enough. But eventually she will get to the point to realize that this is her creating her own problem by believing that whatever she believes, that that shouldn't have happened, or whatever, that he was not behaving the way he should have, or obviously she was triggered into her own not enoughness pain from childhood, which is always the same story. I have to say, like, we always believe that this is like what's happening in our lives right here is something that doesn't have to do with anything, and it's, we always look very separately from our life, from the situations, from our past, and even recent past, or maybe even a lot past. And we don't realize that it's a conclusion of something that we have been doing. And I see even things like I had a client who at 10 years old, when her parents divorced, she she had a huge trauma of her daddy leaving, because that was her most important person in the world. And and by him leaving, she really concluded some beliefs about herself, and those beliefs were pushing her into such a crazy, like, overachievement, that her whole, like, she was not taking in consideration none of the signs of her body was sending her. She was over pushing to achieve success because she believed that her daddy left because she was not a good enough daughter. And we are like, but this doesn't make sense. Even her, when she says it out loud, she's like, but this doesn't make sense. I mean, I know I'm good enough. Like, yeah, but the 10 years old you doesn't know this. So you are trapped in that story of, I really need to prove my daddy that I am a good enough, so I'm going to just achieve everything possible that it's out there to achieve. And she was crazy in sports, and like, putting out goals higher and crazier and higher, and pushing her body to limits in order to prove, that 10 years old, to prove that she can do that she can achieve that she can achieve that. And funny enough, I'm going to just say one more thing, which I get, which was for me the biggest, like, oh my God, when I watch all these amazing celebrities, and I love reading memoirs of celebrities. And if you, or even watching their stories on Netflix, you go and you see all of them are trying to heal trauma by their life, the crazy celebrity life. And when I'm watching them, my heart goes out to them, because I see how easily these people could be helped. And recently I watched Marilyn Monroe on Netflix, and her, it's not a documentary. There's also actually a documentary, but that's more around her death. But there is actually a film that was created around her life, and you see how, like, her traumatic childhood, her mother wanting to kill her, because of her trauma and her mental illness, how affected her whole life, and then how she kills herself. I think she's not even 30 when she overdoses herself. They are talking about that it's not clear how she died, but anyway, you can just, if you watch what's going on in her life, you can see it's all about trying to overcome trauma. um Arnold Schwarzenegger, same thing. I'm looking like what memoirs I see here. Will Smith, same thing. The guy from Friends who's committed suicide, same thing. uh Basically, Whitney Houston, same thing. Amy Winehouse, same thing. So you start to see all these people are fighting with the exactly same pattern of not being good enough, and trying to prove to one of the parents subconsciously that they are enough because something happened. They left, or they abandoned them, or they were like unapproachable, or emotionally unavailable, or even beyond that, like maybe abusive, in not just mentally but physically or even sexually. And these people just really want to survive, but they're so conditioned in the trauma that everything they do, it's about trying to prove. And when you read Will Smith, you really think that he had an amazing life, that he got million Grammys, and he was the best this and the best that and the most amazing and celebrated, and the person who did first the 20 million, like so many things, like goals he achieved first in the world. And then you read how much he's actually suffering, and how much he's hurting himself, and like abusing himself, and it's crazy. And he's also coming from his abusive connection with his father, and everybody wants to prove. So that's all I wanted to say, which is not true. I can just so much that I could say. I can never stop because I get so excited, because I believe that I wish people would know about these kind of things, so these amazing people would not really commit suicide, or they don't have to get to near death experiences or crazy accidents, or end up in rehabilitations and end up in psychological clinic, or do things to themselves, abuse their body. Like, it's not a coincidence, right, that people end up as people who sell their bodies. It's not a coincidence because they so disconnected to their bodies in a way that they don't even feel that that's their own body. So that's why it's easy for them to sell it for money, because they don't inhabit their body because of trauma. Again, not a coincidence. And if they could just do some healing, a little bit more healing, but it is so they could have a normal life. And I'm not saying that this, many choose that, but they don't choose it out of fun, and they don't choose it out of fulfillment and out of love to their body and to their lives, and out of connection and unconditional love. And no, they choosing it because of desperation, and because of trauma, and because of yucky beliefs that they are not worthy. They're not worthy at all, zero, or not unlovable, or important, or whatever shit thing we believed as a child, even though some parents were really doing their best they could. Yet we still ended up with some beliefs that are not really helping us to create what we know we can and we desire. But it's possible, and it's really about finding those beliefs, and really saying, well, and really healing that child who gets stuck. Because we talk about manifestation, I love to talk about manifestation, but honestly, manifestation is so much related to what we think we deserve, and how worthy we are, and how important we are, and what we can allow in our lives, and then how we can become the person who is healthy, who does not have the thing. And just one more thing about cancer, right? Cancer, and I see these, like, Carol, you will show me the book that I mentioned, The Soul Speaks, from Julia Dolores. So she talks about cancer as well in that book. But just mentioning that, for example, so cancer does not show up out of nowhere, is a conclusion of many, many, many years of suppressed emotion and pain and anger, and mostly anger, but but a lot of other things, like fear and pain, and pain, like heartache and heart pain, and pain of unfairness and hopelessness, and fighting with life, and fighting with family member, and always feeling that you're coming out under, or you are always pushed down and then you can't breathe, and then it's a constant, something constantly been going on, and you didn't know what to do with it. and and all these, and just one more thing, but all these things you want to have also, if it's big things, you want to have physical support, which means nutrition, like very, very good nutrition support. You want to have the pills or whatever, either normal or natural, that are supporting your body to come back to balance. You want to have all sorts of other types of support as well, and you want a healer with you, someone who can work with you on the emotional side and energetic side, of this kind of, and the mindset and the thoughts and the story you keep telling yourself, so you will keep holding on to the same frequency, and the body cannot recreate a new organ, even though it's recreating new cells all the time, right? And I think, I don't know how many months you have a new body. Yeah, but if the story, the frequency, the vibration, the message, the coding is the same, it's just keep creating the same story, the same illness, right? It can't create a new body if the message is the same. So this was it. I hope this was helpful for you. I'm opening for Q&A. So you can unmute yourself. You can ask anything you want to ask, share, or just add. I would love to hear your voice, or hear if you liked it or anything. I'm going to have some sip of water.
Hi, Agnes. It's nice to be here again. Yeah, I just wanted to ask, by the way, that was brilliant. I just wanted to ask about entities. Can attached entities cause illness, or?
Oh, I love that question. I forgot that. I'm going to put it on the list, because I remember I talked about this in Soul Hub.
Yeah.
And I didn't mention it now here. So yes, there is the fourth stuff, which is entities or psychic attacks and other type of curses, or black magic, and stuff like that. They definitely can. I also have experience of having that, and last year, or the year before actually. So they caused physical stuff, physical, well, it's not illness, it's more like symptoms. So I was dizzy, I had headaches, and that was like just the psychic attacks I was getting from here and there. But entities, yes. So such a good question. Yes. So next time I'm going to teach you the muscle testing, so you can go and test all these things, and what you have, and those kind of things. Okay. So, and then you can ask your personal stuff or other people's stuff, or and then I can help you to get more info about that. So, I love this question. Now, when we talk about entities, we talk about spirits, especially, or other type of entities as well, but mostly spirits. Now, spirits, they can get attached to anyone. It doesn't have to be spiritual person, obviously, and it can attach in hospitals, for example, or even, oh, I even have examples of churches, obviously cemeteries, and they happen when someone is very, very, very low emotionally, so grieving, so kind of they have no protection, they're surviving so low, or in hospitals when they kick you out because they're operating you, so basically there's no safety net around, and then they can just come and just kind of say, oh, this is a nice home, thank you, and then you go home with some of them. Again, you can test this out with either muscle testing, or if you use pendulum or whatever you work with, if you have or anyone else has. And in Soul Hub, in the 6 module training. Actually, as a bonus, I created a training of how to get rid of them, clear yourself, the house, or anyone else energy field. And yeah, I actually had 3 back in many years ago. And the problems, the symptoms that I was getting, it's so good that you mentioned that. I was having a lot of pressure in my upper stomach, and it was random. Like, was never connected to anything, but I felt like someone is sitting on my upper stomach, and sometimes so like much, and sometimes never. I also had pain here in my lower back, but I always explain them some way. Like, I remember I said, "Oh, my mattress," and I didn't sleep well. And it was, again, sometimes yes, sometimes no, and also this one. And I remember that at that time, we're talking back like almost 20 years ago, when I did not believe in any of these kind of things, in psychics. I never met any and spirits and stuff like that. But I was curious enough to try or find information. And I remember I was sent to this person. I went into the clinic or whatever that place was, and I remember he said to me, "Oh, hello, I see you came with your friends." And I was alone. So I was like, "What? What are you saying?" And then he said, "No, no, no, I mean invisible friends." And I was like, "Oh my God, like, I don't know what he wants to say here." So the moment we sat down, he said to me, "You have like 3 spirits attached to your field." And I'm like, "Oh, that scared me." And he said, like, "Okay, no worries. I'm going to get rid of them, and you're going to go without them home, but let me just, tell you where they are and when they got attached and all that." And he was using a thing, what that kind of pendulum, that kind of, I don't know how is it called, wire they're
More.
using with this, yeah, rod. And so he started telling me, like, "So you have one here, right, solar plexus, and he got attached at this time, exactly the date." That's crazy. It's like, what happened this date? And I'm starting to think back, I had an operation at that date. It's like, there you go. Second one, he said, "You have it here around." I'm like, "Oh my God." And as he said, "This is the date." There was another when I had operation in my amygdalas. It's like, this is crazy. And then there was another one which I was not sensing whatsoever. She was very benevolent. She was like around here on my shoulder. I was freaking out like while he was telling me these things. It was like, "Get rid of them. I want take them out. I don't want this anymore." And he's like, "Yeah, yeah, we're going to do this." And I remember he starting to work and working with, well, angels and spirit guides and Jesus. And I remember I didn't believe. I'm like, I was not religious either, or I'm like recovering Catholic. So I like, I was not really, like, my understanding of Jesus and all that, that was really not a pretty one. So I was like, "Jesus, like, why is he doing this Jesus thing?" Was like, "I don't care, I just want to get rid of these things." And I remember he did it, and then I came out and I felt like I'm floating 1 meter above the pavement. This is how light I started to feel. And funny enough, they never came back. Like, I mean, the sensations, they were gone forever. So that was, I think, now thinking back, my first ever crazy psychic story that actually I was an experience of mine. And yes, you can have those kind of spirits as well. Some can be benevolent, some can be nastier, so you might have symptoms, and they might cause symptoms. And but you either have for yourself, you find a psychic who does that, or you find me, or you find Soul Hub community, where I created a training on how to do that for yourself. So these the variations. Thank you, Gail, for that question. That's awesome. Anything else, or anyone else? Okay, I'm going to just then
just asked another one. His food got a big part in illness as well. Like once you've done all the emotional clearing, the body balanced out, the ancestors, the past lives, and the entities, does that just leave you down to food, like chemical blocks in the body?
Yeah, so you like body code, for example, it's a very, very good system. It's a technique actually, and that uses muscle testing to go and test out if there's any other thing that can cause imbalances. And other things can be environment, so something from the environment. It can be like those metals, like heavy metals in the body. Can be like from environment, can come other types of poison or radiation, right? So sometimes it can be, but I didn't mention it, but it's good that you mentioned that, because sometimes it can be also some of those, or combinations of what I've just mentioned, but also can be that maybe in the environment something is off. So sometimes it happened that some factories close and it's leaking, and then you don't realize, or any type of other type of radiation that can, if it's bombarding your system for too long and it's too powerful, it might also cause the imbalance. So that's why I'm going to mention body code as a technique or a method. And people who do these practitioners are called body code practitioners. The things that I mentioned many times, or now so many 90% of the people are actually ignoring what is so there in their face, and they should do things about those things, and they are not doing it, and that's why the body is out of balance. So that's why I didn't mention really these, but now that you have the whole list, you can go in and see test like what combination of these. But this, in so many things, so many cases, is people need to get to a level of understanding of what's going on, and that's already like almost healed.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. I'm going to stop this and ask, so I can ask you how you are doing.